We've all been there,
Yeah.
especially those of us building really sophisticated automation.
Right. Yeah.
You've just mapped out this monster workflow, maybe 50, 60 nodes deep. You're integrating data cleaning, logic gates, and, I don't know, 3 different specialized AI models.
And you finally hit that save button, and the whole editor just locks up.
Exactly.
And you're just watching that little progress wheel spin for 3, 4, maybe 5 agonizing seconds. And you're thinking, did I just lose the last 40 minutes of my work?
That friction, it's such a productivity killer.
Yeah.
But honestly, worse than the lag is the unreliability.
Yeah.
Especially when you start dealing with complex agents.
Mm-hmm.
You set up a workflow that needs a human to click approve over in Slack, and that approval step, it sits inside a subworkflow.
Right. And in the old system, when that human action finally came back, maybe days later with the yes, the main AI process would just crash. It would hit a total dead end.
Why, though? What was happening?
Because it couldn't retrieve the context it needed to continue the job. The data, the entire state was just dropped on the floor, gone.
That kind of systemic failure, especially in high-stakes multi-day automation, is exactly why we are doing this deep dive today.
Yeah.
The core message here is that those pain points, they are now fundamentally fixed. We are analyzing the n8n 2.0 update. And this isn't just cosmetic. This is like a serious engine swap. It's designed to stabilize and exponentially speed up complex AI-driven workflows.
Our mission today is to give you the shortcut, really, to the most important technical differences between version 1.0 and 2.0. We've synthesized the critical technical docs, and we're going to unpack the 4 pillars of change that, honestly, build trust in your automation layer.
We'll cover the visual overhaul and how that impacts your cognitive load. Then, the impressive architectural speed boosts. After that, the absolutely critical change to Subworkflows, which is the big breaking fix that enables robust agents.
And finally, a new feature called the Focus Panel, which is just the ultimate context management tool for iterating on prompts.
Let's make sure you hit the ground running without any migration snags.
Let's do it.
So let's begin with the aesthetics, the user experience overhaul. In version 1.0, the nodes often had this kind of chunky, almost 3D look with drop shadows.
Right, which felt visually heavy, you know. The source notes point to a move to a flatter, more modern design, and that shift, it might sound small, but when you're zoomed out looking at a canvas with hundreds of connections and 50 nodes, removing that visual clutter, what engineers call visual noise, the effect is instant.
Okay, I appreciate the clean look, but I have to ask, does a simpler, flatter design actually make complex workflows easier to debug?
It absolutely does, and here's why. It's all about cognitive load. When you have overlapping shadows and unnecessary depth, your brain is just working harder to distinguish lines and boundaries. Flatter elements let you instantly parse the flow and spot misconnections way faster.
Got it. So less brain power spent on just seeing things.
Exactly.
Okay, here's where the usability upgrades really shine for me. The execution indicators. Before, when a workflow was running, you had to sort of squint to see this tiny spinning circle inside the node.
Now they've gone with a much clearer glowing outline around the entire node perimeter. It turns red when the node is working, and then a nice satisfying green when it's successful. You can track the status of critical bottlenecks instantly, even in massive workflows that span the entire screen.
I also like the small quality of life details, too. The connection points, those little diamonds or circles you click to link nodes, they now pop out and pulse visually when you hover over them.
That simple tweak dramatically reduces connection errors. We've all been there, misclicking those tiny targets when you're moving quickly. It's just less frustrating.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of workflow management, the sidebar on the left, where you access your node list and settings, it feels much smarter now. It's fully flexible.
It's collapsible via a small arrow, which is great if you're on a laptop screen and need maximum canvas space. And crucially, you can also click and drag the edge to resize it, which is perfect for reading long execution logs without having to click into a whole separate window.
Plus, they move direct settings, access for things like environment variables, execution limits, and the crucial migration report we'll get to later right into that sidebar. That eliminates several clicks every single time you need to check the plumbing.
So, in summary, the aesthetic overhaul is really a functional overhaul.
Right.
It reduces cognitive load and visual friction, and that enables faster error spotting.
So the functional overhaul reduces cognitive load. Simple as that.
Yeah.
All right, let's pivot from the aesthetics to raw architectural horsepower, the need for speed. We mentioned the agony of that spinning save button. Was that 3 to 5 second delay fundamentally a database bottleneck in V1, or was something else going on?
That's the right question to ask. The architectural notes confirm that the saving process itself was actually blocking the editor. It was a synchronous operation, running validation and commit all in one go. That massive lag is now fundamentally gone. Saving is virtually instant.
Whoa. Imagine the psychological relief that provides. When you're making a dozen small, incremental tweaks to a complex prompt or a logic branch, that instantaneous feedback, it just compounds into massive productivity gains.
It eliminates a major point of context switching. You can stay in the flow of building without that forced pause. And more importantly, this speed boost, it isn't just a convenience feature, it's an architectural shift toward non-blocking asynchronous operations.
And that architectural change is foundational for future features, right?
Exactly. The source notes that instant saving is the critical prerequisite for reliable autosave, which they're targeting for January 2026.
Ah, okay.
Because saving no longer halts the editor, it can run reliably in the background, securing against data loss from browser crashes or, just accidentally closing a tab.
Securing against data loss is a huge strategic win, absolutely. Another quality of life speed improvement is inside the node configuration windows themselves.
Yeah, the navigation arrows at the top of the configuration panel. Those are lifesavers. You can quickly jump between nodes in a sequence without closing and reopening each one individually.
So, for example, if you're setting up a complex LLM agent where you need to configure the model, then the memory, then the tools, you can just navigate those sequential steps quickly without losing your place. You feel like you're staying in the zone.
The strategic gain is just crystal clear, eliminating context switching.
Okay, so instant saving makes background autosave possible, which secures against data loss. That's the big takeaway.
That's it.
Now, we need to slow down a little bit for this next segment because this is the most critical technical change in the update. If you use Subworkflows or if you build human-in-the-loop AI agents, you need to pay absolute attention to these changes in reliability and terminology.
This is where n8n 2.0 really proves its maturity. Let's revisit that problem in version 1. If an AI agent, your parent workflow, triggered a subworkflow that had an asynchronous node-like waiting for that human approval, what exactly failed?
The agent would pause, which is good. But when the human finally approved it, maybe hours or even days later, the agent would just lose the thread, right?
Precisely. In V1, the system would lose the necessary execution token or the state handle required to reintegrate the subworkflow's output when it returned asynchronously. The agent process couldn't retrieve the context, causing the entire main workflow to fail silently or hit that data-losing dead end we talked about.
The documentation confirms this is fixed in 2.0. So agents can now reliably trigger that subworkflow, wait for the human action, and then successfully receive the final result, the approval data, to continue the main job.
This shift alone, it unlocks a whole new tier of complex, high-stakes automation. You can now design human-validated approval chains and compliance processes that you can genuinely trust not to fail mid-process.
Now, in tandem with that fundamental fix, there's a mandatory terminology change that will break all existing setups if you ignore it during migration.
Correct. The workflow status terms active and inactive are now replaced by published and unpublished. And this is more than just semantics. It reflects a much stricter state management system.
And the rule is absolute now.
Yeah.
A parent workflow can only call a subworkflow if that subworkflow is published.
In V1, there were these confusing edge cases where you could sometimes call an inactive workflow, and it led to really unpredictable behavior. Now, if you forget to publish your helper workflow, the main process throws an immediate hard error. This stricter governance is just crucial for reliability.
So before anyone updates, what is the single most necessary pre-update step for every user with existing subworkflows?
You need to toggle all existing helper subworkflows from inactive to the new published status.
Okay, that's it. Toggle all helper subworkflows to published before migrating.
Don't forget that one.
Let's transition now to a new feature that's really tackling the modern complexity of automation: prompt engineering. If you spent any time writing system prompts for AI, you know that iterative loop can be just maddening.
Oh, absolutely. The prompts are getting longer, more complex, and they rely so heavily on accurate variables drawn from many upstream nodes. You're constantly opening the node, writing the prompt, closing it, checking the canvas for the variable name, reopening the node, writing a little more.
I still wrestle with prompt consistency myself, just making sure I'm referencing the right input key when I'm 6 steps deep in a sequence. It's total workflow whiplash.
The focus panel is designed to solve exactly that context switching problem. It lets users pin important, lengthy fields like that system prompt or maybe a massive configuration JSON to the side of the screen.
And the elegance here is that the pinned panel stays open and active while you still see the full editable workflow map. You can edit your prompt text in real time without obscuring the canvas at all.
This creates the ultimate environment for prompt iteration. The efficiency example is so powerful. You can copy a variable name directly from an upstream node on the canvas, say the output of a data cleaning step, and then paste it immediately into the pinned prompt field without ever closing or flipping windows.
That just drastically speeds up the iterative testing process. It turns what was a multi-step chore into a fluid single editing process. It's efficiency by continuous visibility.
It's essentially a dedicated context management tool. You're no longer guessing about the flow or relying on your short-term memory. You see the live data flow while you configure.
So does the focus panel address any issues beyond just text prompts?
Yes, it simplifies editing any long, critical field. Think about writing a massive, detailed Slack message or building a complex HTML email body. You can edit that text while you're viewing exactly how the upstream data flows into it.
So the focus panel simplifies editing any long field while viewing data flow. That's a great way to put it. Our final crucial segment is on safe migration strategies. This sounds like a terrifyingly complex update with breaking changes, but it sounds like n8n has included tools to make the transition pretty straightforward and manageable.
They definitely provided a strong safety net, which is critical for enterprise users. The main tool is the migration report, which you'll find in the settings under that little gear icon.
What does that report actually deliver? Does it, fix things automatically for you?
It scans all of your existing workflows and then assigns issues a score based on severity. It uses 3 categories. Critical, so things that will absolutely break, like that inactive subworkflow status.
Right.
Medium, which are things that might act differently due to deprecations. And then low, which are just minor changes.
So the recommended strategy is clear. Fix the critical issues first. If you ignore those, especially the subworkflow status changes, you could deploy an entire mission-critical business process that just fails silently when it hits that required helper function.
That's the risk. The migration report is designed to help you prioritize those fixes. However, if you need to manually move a single workflow from an older environment to a newer one, the fundamental underlying structure hasn't changed all that dramatically.
Meaning you can still use the standard method of Ctrl+C and Ctrl+V to copy workflows between instances.
Correct. The underlying JSON code that describes the nodes remains mostly consistent across the versions, which really simplifies manual transfer if you're using version control or something like that.
And just to confirm for everyone listening, is n8n 2.0 included for both the self-hosting community edition and for the cloud users?
It is available across the board. This functionality upgrade is not a paywalled feature.
And if a user doesn't use AI at all, is migrating still necessary?
Yes, absolutely, because the new published status rule for subworkflows applies universally. Any user calling a helper function from a parent workflow has to make that change to prevent errors.
Okay, let's bring this deep dive home with the big idea recap. If you're integrating this into your automation stack, I think you need to remember the 4 pillars that build these new levels of trust in the system.
First up, the visuals. A flatter design means drastically less cognitive load, and those glowing indicators give you instant debugging status.
Second, speed. Instant saving eliminates the biggest building friction, and it's the architectural prerequisite for that reliable background autosave that's coming soon.
Third, and this is the most critical one, reliability. AI agents can now correctly handle human-in-the-loop wait nodes. This eliminates frustrating and expensive dead ends by correctly preserving the execution state.
And fourth, efficiency. The focus panel is the ultimate contact management tool, and it drastically speeds up the iterative process of complex prompt and long field editing.
And if you take only one thing away today, remember the golden rule. Any subworkflow you intend to call must be explicitly set to published. Do not ignore that step.
This update really does feel like a massive leap in maturity for building durable, enterprise-grade automation. It feels like it transitions n8n from being a powerful tool to being a fundamentally trustworthy platform for complex processes.
The reliability fix, specifically allowing AI agents to wait for and receive human validation data without state loss, that's revolutionary. It means we can finally design complex multi-stage approval chains and compliance flows that were previously just too brittle to even think about deploying.
That raises a final provocative thought for you to consider. Knowing that your agents can now reliably wait for human input and pick up the process days later, how will this new level of trust change the kind of high-stakes, multi-step approval chains you dare to automate in your organization?
The best thing you can do now is just try it out. If you're self-hosting, please remember to make a full database backup first, then run that migration report immediately. Start with those critical items, and you'll find yourself running smoothly in 2.0 very, very quickly.
Find your migration report and let us know what you discover. We'll see you on the next deep dive.